Hi everyone, this is Jen from the Hingham Public Library. I'm going to be showing you some ideas for painting your own rock fairy house. For this tutorial, you'll need some rocks. I'm going to be painting 3 different designs on these. As I was searching, I looked for rocks that had a house shape with a wider base and more of a point for the roof. After I selected my rocks, I rinsed them off really well to make sure that there was nothing stuck to them that would make them difficult to paint. If you would like to do a different design from the 3 that I will be showing you, I would encourage you to trace your rocks on some paper and do a little brainstorming of all the details first. This will also help you in planning your colors. I chose my color palette and then I wrote them on my design where I wanted to use those colors. I used acrylic paint for this project. Here are the colors that I will be using: white, black, brown, green, and yellow. I also used a variety of paintbrushes. Not pictured is a large paintbrush that I used to paint the large base coats. I want to share a tip for anyone who doesn't have a lot of experience with painting. I reuse old yogurt containers to hold the water to clean my brushes. When I'm cleaning the brush to change colors, I gently push the brush on the bottom of the container, and then I push it on the side to get some of the extra water out before drying it a bit more on the paper towel. For the base coats, I painted one rock entirely white. For the next rock, I painted the bottom brown and left the rock exposed at the top. And the third, I painted the bottom yellow and left the rock exposed at the top. You might need to do a few coats of paint to get the color to really pop. To speed up your drying time, you can just use a hairdryer. I use mine on the high setting, and I'll do that for a few minutes until the paint isn't wet anymore. This is the first fairy house that we are going to paint. As you're painting along with me, please just pause the video so that you have time to paint each step. Now that your base coats are dry, you can start painting the details of your little fairy houses. So for this part, you're just doing the lines that are separating the house from the roof. This is using black paint, and I only did the top and the sides of the rock. I did not paint the back. So what you're seeing is me just painting the sides and the top. I'm doing the 2 different lines there. And as you're painting, there will be moments that you kind of slip and you need to erase that. Like if there's a little smudge or a smear, you can always go back after the paint's dry and touch that up. So with this one, to fix that black, I would just touch it up with a little bit of the white paint to cover up the black smudges. So on the bottom there, I'm just doing the 3 lines, and you can see how this is connecting to my brainstorm. So next you're going to continue using the black paint and just add 2 rows of dots below the line that you did for the roof. You're going to go all around on the 3 different sides. Using that same black paint, go up onto the roof and paint small black lines from the roof line all the way to the back. You're going to continue that pattern for the whole roof, all wrapping around from the sides and the front. Still using the black paint, you're going to paint an upside down U and then paint that upside down U again for the door and a little dot for the doorknob. You'll paint 2 rectangles with 2 rectangles inside them to be the windows, and then a small rectangle to the left of the door to be the planter. You'll then use yellow paint. You're going to switch paint colors and paint the yellow heart right on the door. You'll switch paint colors again here and go in with the green, painting a small line going into your planter. And then on either side of that line, you'll paint the little leaves alternating back and forth. You're going to keep using the green paint and go in between those roof lines all the way around. Switching back to yellow, you'll paint inside the planter and also inside the windows. Switching back to the green paint, you'll paint those small lines on the roof in between the black lines that you already painted. Still using the green paint, do dots all the way around on the bottom. And that's it. The first house is finished. This is what the second fairy house will look like when you're all done painting. You're going to start with white paint for this roof. You already painted the base part brown, so you'll just be doing hearts in rows, covering the whole roof area. Still using the white paint, go in and define that roof line with some white dots. Then go along the bottom and paint white stripes to define the base. Still using the white paint, paint an upside down U to make the door, and then above that paint a white rectangle and add another white rectangle next to that to be your windows. And you want to paint your door white as well. Remember that you can go back in there once the paint is dry using the background color to touch up any smudges. So for this one, you have the brown base. So take the brown paint to go in and define those white stripes at the bottom. Once your white base is dry, paint the door yellow. Using black, paint 3 lines on your windows. And repeat that on your other window. Switching to white, paint 2 lines going down to the base, and then you'll paint white leaves onto those lines. Switch to green and then paint on top of those white lines you just painted. It's okay if it's not completely dry. Still using the green, go on the door and paint a heart. And that's it. The second fairy house is finished. This is the finished version of the third fairy house. Using brown, paint an upside down U and then repeat that following the entire roof line. Once you've reached the other side, go back and repeat the process over again, kind of alternating and staggering the bottom line of the U. Still using brown, repeat the wavy line of the base of the roof. Paint brown lines on the bottom to define the base. Paint a brown upside down U to be the door, and then fill that in with brown paint. Paint 3 brown rectangles to be your windows. On the bottom, paint a brown rectangle, but don't fill it in. That will be your planter. And then you'll change colors and fill that in with white paint. Paint white rectangles to be your window frame. Paint white dots on all of the windows. This is the same technique that was used for the second fairy house, painting white lines and then green lines on top of that to have the leaves stand out. You can see I added some green dots as accents here. Change colors to white paint to do your doorknob and then to paint your white heart on the door. And now the third fairy house is finished. If you have any questions at all about anything that you saw in this video, please don't hesitate to email me and send me pictures of what you make. Thanks so much for joining me.